Thank you. I'm Jacob Nielsen.
And I'm Ken Milton.
And we represent MyBlueLabel, and it's about regulatory compliance. We could help these companies that you just saw before here. So this is the agenda for today. Let's get started. Ken.
I'm the first one. Cool. My name is Ken Milton. I'm the founder and CEO of MyBlueLabel. I have nearly 20 years of experience in the regulatory industry, and I have been working with some of the largest corporations in Europe, also working with some of the largest consultancy networks in Europe. And what you're going to see here today is 10, 20 years of experience into the solution that we are able to distribute in a nice and scalable way. Today we are supporting more than 125 small mid-sized companies around in Europe.
Yes, and this is me. I don't have 20 years. I have 8 years. I actually am a co-founder of a company with heart arrhythmias. So it was a hardware device, monitor for ECG. It was also software analysis. It had both. I started that company together with a medical doctor with actually no experience with regulatory compliance, and I found out I had to do it all myself. So that's why I now joined MyBlueLabel here, because I want to give these learnings to you so you can get faster to the market. It took me more than 3 years to get that certified. I participated in accelerators in Berlin, in Bayer Accelerator, maybe you're familiar with this, or also the Pfizer Healthcare Hub, which is all around the world now, but it started also in Berlin. I've been there where some of you are now, or should be, or could be so in the future. So that's my background for this. And when it comes to yes, this regulation, you have a device, you have something that patient needs, but authority says you need to have it certified. And there's a huge documentation requirements. I mean, I see these technical documentation, more than 100 documents in a technical dossier, also known as technical file. It's not just one single act that you have to read. You have to also, if you have some software using artificial intelligence, you maybe have patient privacy data, you might also someone asking for what is the climate impact, and suddenly you have 4 or 5 legislations you have to act on. And now with the Brexit and UK, then suddenly UK saying we're having our own legislation now, or at least it's coming up. So, and if you want to be on this market, you need to document everything that you are in compliance with these acts. Then my first learning is, okay, we hire a consultant. Consultants are extremely expensive. They work on an hourly base, sometimes 200 euros per hour. That's more or less the same in pounds. And they are also hard to get. There are not so many of them out there. So you call them and say, I need you now, and they say, we are ready in 2 months. And then you're lucky. And then you have these, of course, authorities and notified bodies as accreditation bodies. And they have, information on their website. You can also say, call us. But they can only inform about the acts. I mean, they give you oracle responses, and those who know the oracle in Delphi, you don't really know, where can I use this answer? I mean, they just inform me what's in the act. So you're standing there all alone and say, do we really have to do all this? And then we come to this fast-track solution that we are here in London to show you that we have made. And first of all, you need to identify there is in business minimal viable product, but there's also a minimal viable certification. Go with as few requirements as possible to get it, because when a notified body, someone who needs to accredit it to certify the product, when they go through all your requirements, say you need to verify it, you need to test it, and if one of these tests fails, then the whole file, the whole dossier fails. And then you can say, okay, maybe we shouldn't have this extra feature that you should log in also on a cloud when we can only have an app as a start. Also, don't consider regulation as your enemy. I learned that it's actually your manual for design and development. And here I am saying, because I've seen, and also I did a little bit myself here, you make a perfect product, and then you say, okay, now it must be in compliance with the regulations, and then you need to modify your product, and both in hardware and software, when you start modifying, other things go wrong. And then you can go on and maybe can take another, sometimes a year, at least when you do hardware. It's not just some coming out next year. So, and then for this is why we're here, you can also let regulatory text software do part of the job. We say that we can provide you with maybe 70 to 80% of what's needed to be documented, because across hundreds or thousands of technical documentation, it is, more or less, even though different devices, same kind of documentation you need. The risk assessment is also 70 to 80% similar from product to product. And this is what we are still building it, so we have been building it for some years, and now Ken will show you a little insight in this. And of course you can go to our booth afterwards and talk more with us. Okay?
Thank you. Can I get this one? Yes. Thank you. So what a nice picture, Jacob, you just painted there. So what we are here to say is that 20 years of experience, thousands of consultancy hours, we can actually put it in a box. We can make a package for you guys and say anything that you need. Yes, you need the 100%, but 80% of that information is already there. It's the same way that you are reading the regulations. It's the same way that you are reading the standards, the same way that you are reporting on the standards. And I believe that there's more than 500,000 different medical devices out there. And if you look into how that are approved, I'm pretty sure we can also agree that they are not approved very uniquely. So a lot of this content is something that you guys are recreating. You're reinventing the wheel when you're building your company. And we're saying, please do not reinvent the wheel. We have done it for you. We have done thousands of consultancy hours into this solution. We have all the templates for you, and we need a nice way to distribute this, because obviously if we also need to make a business case out of it, we need to reach a lot of clients. I was one of the expensive consultants. I was doing pretty well, but my professional pride, damn it, made me go back and say, I want to build a digital solution for this. I cannot live with myself sitting here and billing hours and not feeling that I'm delivering. I'm not solving anything. I want to help companies actually succeed. And my job was actually to read documents and say, no, that's not how we expect it. So please go back, even though I had the solution to actually help these guys. So this is how it works. And I was stepping down from this career path and said, I actually want to help companies go from A to B and A to C. But we need to deliver it in a scalable manner, because otherwise we cannot do it in the price range that we want to deliver it. We know that startup and all companies are not having too much money in the beginning of the journey. And our business case is actually to grow with the companies. So we're not earning any money in the beginning of the journey, but when you're starting earning money, we're earning money. So we are betting on your success, and we're actually building our company around your success. So obviously, we need a digital platform to be able to help a lot of companies. And if you're looking into the regulatory landscape of IT, and you go into a larger corporations, you would see 10, 20 different applications solving the holistic journey for regulatory compliance. But knowing what it requires, looking at the landscape and thinking what is the unique selling points, what are the bare minimum that you need to succeed in this, this is what we want to build into the solution. We don't want to build any extra efforts. We don't want to have extra consultancy hours needed to build your product and service and put it to the market. So I've been validating IT solutions in life science industry for close to 20 years, and sometimes we validated a solution over 3 years, And when the 3 years was gone, then we figured out that this solution was not really usable for the wider community. So we spent my consultancy rate and then hundreds of other consultants. So we took these solutions and say, what does work? The 2% that you configured in that big solution, what is actually required for meeting the regulatory requirement? We put it in the solution, we validated the solution, because if you're in medtech, it will be a requirement that you are using validated technology. So we validated the solution so you don't need to do it yourself. And you can actually start using the solution from day number 1, and if you don't like it, you toss it, but I would be very surprised. So we want to make it very easy for everyone to access, so it's also a cloud-based solution. And more importantly, everything that you need to do, we can actually predefine. So we can predefine project structures. We can predefine when you need to see which template and who you need to involve in fulfilling those templates. So we're just building almost like a project plan. We're building a digital solution with nice visibility. And then it's just by going step by step through this solution, and then in the end, when you're going to the last bit, then you're done. So there's going to be no surprises. We like to communicate everything up front. Some might say it's a bad idea, because then you know it's a big animal that you need to eat here. So somebody like to cut it into pieces. I'm being an engineer. I like to see the whole picture before I start, and then slowly know exactly what to expect in every single step of the way. And this is how we also want to present it. And then we are focusing a lot of illustration, because some of this is very data heavy, a lot of documentation, and if you need to look into documentation every day, just finding that information takes many, many hours. So we want to present it in dashboards, so you can see if you need to work on something, or what is it actually that you need to focus on to spend your resources optimally. So everything that we do, everything that we build is actually to speed up the process, taking all that meaningless administration out of the equation. Because if you are accustomed to compliance, then you might also know that some guys are actually printing this out, they're scanning it, they're signing it, scanning it, sending it to the next approver, and all that we call meaningless administration. So if you're doing it really smart and you're doing it effective, then we actually believe that we can build a quality management system for you in 5 days. We actually, with one of our clients, we passed an audit, and it took 1 month, but it was only because the auditors expected that QMS system to be implemented for some time, but the effort that the client spent was maximum of 5 days, and then we passed the first audit. And this is where we want you to go. We want you to set the platform, we want you to set the pathway, and yes, there is more work to it, but why spend thousands of pounds setting it up when it's really easy and it's really 80% standard? It is really standard, and it is a checkmark exercise. So why don't you leverage for somebody who have done it before, and you can spend your time on developing your innovative products, because this is what we want to put on the market, is your innovation, because we all have some loved ones or patients ourselves, and some patients never seen the technology that you're building because of regulatory compliance. And we want to at least remove that obstacle for you guys. Colorful indicators. So we also very heavily working on new tech. So we want to be working on edge technologies. If you come from bigger corporations, you see technology and compliance being 10, 20 years old. And that's because nobody wants to solve the job. So if you're a consultant, you want to go in and you want to meet that old tech because nobody wants to work with it. And that's going to make you extremely rich as a consultant. But we believe it's better to earn money on helping a lot of startups reaching a market and getting success, and then introduce this innovative products to the patients. Then there's a lot of features, obviously, to support the whole process. And if you're into the tech and you have the questions, yes, then it is Part 11 compliant. And that is a natural question when you're working with tech and you're working with electronic signatures. You need to understand if the solution is validated. What does it require for me? When I buy your software, do I need to validate it myself? And it takes months and months and months before you get the value. We validated the solution because we know that this is what you need to do, so why don't we do it for you? So we have written the thousands of pages that Jacob was talking about, and we're actually ready just to hand it to you if we can get you to work on your innovative products in the end. Yeah, we have a lot of clients right now, so we're focusing in Europe at the moment, 125. We onboarded 100 new clients this year. And we are aiming to work with even thousands of clients. We want to make compliance really obtainable and not being a gray box and not being something that you're figuring out that's going to cost you thousands of pounds to establish. It's not going to take you the 6 months, 1 year, and so forth to implement. Actually, we have some statistics that most clever people, when they're getting out of high school, they want to build their medical devices, and clever people saying, I can do it myself. And you can. It's not difficult. It is best practices. So if you understand the regulation, if you understand the standards, you can definitely build this yourself. You don't need us. You don't need a consultant. You can do it yourself. But is it value best spent that you're sitting and writing documentation instead of working on your innovative products? We don't believe so, and if you do the math, it's not a lot you get in hourly wages if you're doing this yourself. We've done it, we scale it, and we have extremely prices. So we made the calculation. It's like, yeah, it's actually after 1 month or something like that, then it's going to be a bad investment trying to do it yourself. But you have to try it. You know, clever people, you cannot say that you need to do this instead of that because they need to learn themselves. So I'm going to tell you a story that is going to take 12 months to discover that you cannot do it yourself unless you're spending all your time doing it. And then you're going to hire the most expensive consultant out there, spending yet another half a year and a year. And then you build an extremely expensive quality management system that we can implement for you in 5 days. 5 days. And I know also when we're talking about compliance, we have a branding exercise that we need to do, because when I'm saying compliance, I'm actually surprised to see so many people here. When we're talking about compliance, everybody flees for the door and cannot get out of the room as quick as possible. But I have not yet met the most innovative CEO not saying, after we implemented this, that this was the best thing that they ever did. And they all want to innovate. They all want to be creative. They all want to just go out and sell their products. And they think that compliance is actually going to kill innovation. I think there's even LinkedIn pages that says that MDR is killing innovations. We believe that it's actually promoting innovation. It's the people and companies who's adapting the best who actually win the race. And when you're in control of your product, and if you're in control of your processes, then you can also innovate and you can be creative as much as you want. But why would you not know the end game? Why would you not know what is your minimum requirements to get to the market? And if you're looking up compliance, it actually means just the right level of quality. You have high quality and you have low quality, but just enough. It is best practice, and it's in all the documentation out there, but also it's a lot of pages to understand. And this is why we're taking the 20 years of experience, putting it into our solution to give it to you. It's not free though, but it's almost free. And this is, we actually want to change the game here and disrupt how you look at compliance today, because we believe that it is best practice, and we do believe that it's a business advantage.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much for that. We'll open up the floor to Q&A. I have a mic with me, so please do come along. This is really important, actually. This is great, by the way. It's one of the hardest things to do for most companies, to get through regulatory approval. And You're making it easier for them
Yeah.
in some ways, right?
Definitely.
So are you using a business model you just pay for a service, or do you take equity in a company?
No, so we might think of doing so, but no, we actually have 3 different tiers at the moment that we're working on, because we actually want to help the early startups as much as possible, and it's almost a complete bargain and offering. And then when they succeed, they get funding. Then we say, okay, then we raise the prices because now you have some money. And then when you're making it, then it's a different price. But then we like to believe that we are following the companies in their success, and we know that they don't have a lot of money, but also we know if they're using our solution, the greater chances of success.
Yeah.
And if you're in life science, you also know that it's a 10, 15 years relationship, and our business model is long term.
Sure.
So it is a subscription model where you can take out all your documents if you're not happy or don't like the service. So it's
Great.
Yeah.
Great. Questions? Yeah, over here. Stephanie.
I was wondering if it's only the regulatory part, or you do also help with the clinical part, like which classification of device you are and so on.
Yeah, so we support in a right range on the journey. So if our introduction to most companies are actually to plan your regulatory pathway, to understand your product, and then we are listing up what classification that you might be, the claims that you are having right now we would look at, and then we would turn it into regulatory understanding, looking at the rules and regulation and say you would definitely be a class 2A or similar, but then we would also look into your product and say, if we claim a little bit lower than you are looking to do today, we can actually get you in on a class 1, and that means that you don't need any regulatory approval. It would just be us approving your documentation, and there's free market access for you. So we would do anything that we can to find alternatives for you to get to the market. And yes, you should eventually build on your claims so you get to where you want to be and where you want your product to be at the end.
yeah. You can also say that clinical approval, we see it as regulatory approval because you need to hand in your clinical approvals if needed as a part of the regulatory approval. So of course it's included. That's what I wanted to say.
Yeah. So one thing we do not do, we do not go out with the clinicians and making these clinical investigations. This is where we hand over the documentation and say, you actually need to do the verification with another group of people. But we're going to go with that guy just in a few seconds.
Yeah.
But we are trying as much as possible to avoid you having to go that route, because in the medtech industry, you can look into equivalent devices. And if you find an equivalent device, you actually do not need to do the testing that is required if you can point to somebody else who did it before you. So this is the very clever part about medical device and introduction. Because if we look at the landscape and say breathing devices, there are a few out there, and if somebody is CE marked already, we're just going to leverage from that documentation and then say, why don't we just take that documentation, and then if we need to go to a notified body, they go, yeah, but that's also approved before you. So why, if we're not the only one who approved your devices, then our risk is also lower. So there is a lot of risk management in this also from a notified body perspective.
Okay, thank you for that. So cut and paste from other.
No, so that's how it should be done.
Hey, it works, right?
Yeah.
Stephanie, that might be a good collaboration for you. So another question.
Hi, yeah. Thank you for your presentation. Really enjoyed it. Just to quote you, I'm the kind of guy that likes to take on big animals as well.
Yeah.
I'm a teddy bear. I recently won an Innovate UK grant to use artificial intelligence to track and trace medical devices into electronic healthcare records and kind of help with post-market surveillance.
Oh, cool.
And we want to expand into the European market as well. I think there's 2 ways that we could possibly work together. One is to validate. We're going through a process of validation as well, our platform, but also there may be some collaborative work that we could do together, and I think we should talk.
Very cool. You're more than welcome.
Come.
And congratulations.
Thank you.
So system validation is some of our key features, and we already have predefined structures, packages, documentation for it. And I'm pretty sure that we can validate your solution in very short time. And post-market surveillance is a huge thing. So if you can do that, people are going to be happy about your tools and services.
Let's talk here after the session. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, we're
Yeah.
out of time now. Thank you. Oh, do you want one last question? Okay, one last question, quick question, then we can move on. Thank you.
Oh yeah, thanks. I met Orca recently, and they also do compliance, regulation, that kind of thing. How is my Blue Label different to someone like an Orca?
Which one did you say?
Orca, the compliance regulation
So
organization.
I don't know the specific tool that you're mentioning, but obviously when there's compliance, when there's regulation, a lot of companies are setting themselves up to do this. There's also companies that are older than us. So there's various ways to go and solve compliance. Somebody also just sell templates and so forth. We believe that we are looking at the business angle of that. We're looking into the final approval, and we do anything that we can do to minimize the effort that the company needs to spend. I have been in this industry for many years, obviously, and what I see is that the tools and the companies out there, they earn money by either introducing consultants to implement it, or they are more IT focused, or there are some good tools also, but some tools just requires that you are a completely IT skilled person, and then it's just a minimum set of individuals in your company who can actually take care of this. We want to make it as accessible as possible, and yeah, we're working with documentation of Word, Excel, and so forth, so everybody can get in there. And if you're working in big corporations, that would be how they would like to see it. We actually also have modules that can go really content-based. When that is set, then 95%, maybe even 99% of our clients like to take the fastest way to regulatory compliance and then get a little bit nerdy afterwards, and we can support that as well. But our goal is really to accelerate this journey. And if you want to go nerdy on it, we can support you. And if you want to go fast, we can support you. We just want to make sure that you're getting there. And then you can take all the time you want. But if you can do it faster, that would at least be our recommendation, cost-wise, time-wise.
We are.